I would have to bring my own food, and then of
Oh.
course I would get teased. So I had a very strange relationship with food growing up because I wasn't
Right.
allowed it. And to make a long story short, I rebelled by binging and overeating a lot of these foods just to
Right.
fit in. And I started getting high fives, like no one's ever drinking that much chocolate milk at school or eating that many pieces of pizza, instead of getting the finger pointed of like, what kind of weird food are you eating? So that was cool, but then I would go into the bathroom and keel over because I couldn't digest this food.
Right.
And eventually I gained 50 pounds actually of doing this. So I went from getting high fives for eating all this food to then you're fat. And
so now you already had the previous not looking like the other kids, not being able to eat, and then now you've added this weight component.
And this was as a elementary school kid going into middle school, and then we went on
Challenging
sabbatical to San Diego. My dad was teaching there, so it was new kids. I'm the new kid, I'm the fat kid, I'm the this kid and that kid. It was a really difficult time. So my sort of early teenage days were marked with a lot of difficulty around my weight, self-confidence, and body image.
Right. Lots of judgments, lots of
man.
your own critical, and I'm sure kids can be mean and
Very mean.
Yeah.
So the way that I got past that eventually, I was going into high school. I was a freshman. I always was very good at sports, and I never gave up my connection to, I don't want to say athletics, it's just something, the way that I looked at it and look at it now, it's something that I was gifted with, and it's something that I was able to express myself through. It's movement.
Right.
Whether you're kicking a ball, spiking, you know, whatever it is, or you're
moving your
dancing,
body, yeah.
martial arts, to
Right.
me, or breakdancing,
Right.
it's a raw expression of who you are coming out of your body.
Absolutely. Yes.
So I went back into that, and it was very difficult because a lot of my coaches said, you're too I remember the day my gymnastics coach, which I was, you know, not to toot my horn, but one of the more advanced kids in the class,
Right.
eventually years later saying, you have to stop, you can't hold your own body weight up anymore. Like I couldn't
Wow.
do these moves because I had gained
That's
too much
an
weight.
eye-opener. Yeah.
And the
You're
crazy
like,
thing is, you know, you don't see it. You
Right.
may look at yourself in the mirror, but you really only see sometimes the things you want to see, and you'll deny the things that you don't want to. I never let my picture get taken. Why? Because when a picture was taken, can't avoid the truth there.
Right. And back then they didn't have all the filters they do now,
Right?
right? Where you could do
No,
what you got to do, put the magic on it. You couldn't do that back then.
It was really humbling and
Right.
very humiliating to me to see
Yeah,
that picture. So I only had my hair cut a certain way. I only started wearing certain clothes. And it's interesting, I think, sometimes for a lot of women that hear me talk about this experience, they're like, wow, I never, you know, may not have heard a guy going through the same
Right.
things that we were. I mean, it was a lot. And what eventually got me over that was just this experience where I had almost like an outer body experience. I began hiding food from my mom and eating in the closet to hide food from her.
Okay.
Because she would know when I was taking food and overeating. And she had her own weight issues, and she was very cool about helping me try to basically get past this very difficult obstacle.
Right.
And even eating disorders, I was binging and doing all this stuff that I didn't even realize as a 12 or 13-year-old.
Right.
I had created these disorders.
It's disordered eating, and a lot of times that people, I've recovered from an eating disorder, a lot of people don't realize that certain things are disordered. It is disordered eating, even though, you know, you think, okay, well, I'm just having candy bars and I think I'm just like sneaking them over here in the corner, but really it's a form of hiding, shame,
exactly.
control, all of it,
Deception.
deception, and manipulation, all of it.
Yeah.
And so it's like all these, what I call low frequency behaviors that are, you know, going on, and it's really getting aware of what's going on to overcome that.
And I was not aware. I was in
Right.
denial. And I remember sitting in my closet. And it was just this weird thing where I remember eating, I've told this story a few times, but I'm eating Kraft macaroni and cheese. And when you crack open that dry cheese,
Dry cheese.
it's such a smell, right?
It is a smell.
And I'm just,
I gotta say, I kind of like it.
It's crazy.
Every now and then, I'm like, do they make it gluten-free now? Because like,
I don't know.
I might, no, I think I found the organic kind. Every now and then, I'm like, if I'm around kids, I'm like, I might try a bite of that.
That was like my go-to.
Right,
And I'm in the
yeah.
closet with this orange mix.
Oh, now you would make it, or you would just eat the mix?
No, I would make it. I
Okay,
made it, and
okay.
I took all of, and and this is how crazy it got.
Because some people will just eat the mix. I mean,
No,
I've heard
my
everything.
mom knew when I had taken food
Okay.
or dishes, and she could tell I'd eat. So I stole these dishes and left them in my closet. She would know that I'd been taking them.
And then she would find them, or would
No,
you put them back?
I would just leave them in there.
Oh.
So she never knew they were gone.
But then eventually, wouldn't her cupboards go like no more
Well,
dishes?
the food, but the dishes and stuff, and
Yeah.
I would just sneak things out. So I'm
wow.
sitting in there, and all of a sudden, I just remember a cap on my head, and it was a coat. And I'm
Oh,
sitting in the dark,
interesting.
because I didn't, just whatever, and it
Would
was,
you eat in the dark too?
Yeah.
You would. Okay.
and
Interesting.
this was this one moment, all of this in like one shot, was all of a sudden, the smell hit me, and I had this moment of, the reason you are overweight, and the reason of a lot of your depression
Right.
is your own doing. It's because you're sitting in the closet
Right.
eating this food, and you cannot blame anyone else but yourself.
Right.
Blame or take accountability, I should say,
Sure.
for anyone else but you. And that was this moment, and it created a very hyper accountability all of a sudden to my word. And I put my hand up and I swore that something would, and it was really weird. For whatever reason, this combination of events
Right.
just made this indelible emotional impact on me that
Yeah.
once I had given my word for this, for whatever reason, it stuck like life or death.
Right.
So after that moment, if I did the same hand movement and said the same sort of mantra in my head, it raised the hairs on the back of my neck. And it literally is like, you not only gave your word, it's like you put your
Right.
life next to it, and I would not renege.
Right.
And this carried on into the following year when I was doing sports. And I'd be on the lacrosse team or the wrestling team or the football team. And when we had to do sprints or something, it was like, those are the kids that beat you up for being
Right.
overweight. You're going to run 10 yards past them. Or you're going to do 5 more push-ups. I don't care if your arms fall off. It was this
It became empowering
this
for you.
drive. It was
Yes.
like you gave your word. So it created a lot of accountability and drive that I've carried on. Honestly, it may not have been the healthiest way, but it got me out of that
Right.
situation.
It shifted you.
It shifted me. And
Absolutely.
the first step was acknowledgement and accountability
Right.
for the issue that I had that I was not doing before.
It's interesting because you say something that I think happens with a lot of the people when I'm coaching them. It's like that aha moment where your soul is just tired and the energy that's
Yes.
expended in
Yes.
in doing these deceptions, right? And living this
Yes.
low frequency of let me hide, let me sneak the food, let me stack the dinners, let me turn the lights out. And then it's like your soul, it's kind of jabbing at your soul, I call it. And it's like, it just goes, no more, no more. And it's that moment, I got chills, where it's like, you recognize that moment. A lot of times people don't. It takes a few more,
Yeah.
tappings or a few
Yes.
more occurrences. But you recognize that moment, and you just said, "That's it. I draw the line in the sand. My life will be different from this day on."
And
you've committed to it. Clearly, it's part of your success and everything that you're doing.
That's why my first company, the tagline, it still is for a lot of what I do, fitness from within.
Okay.
And that
Beautiful.
it was not just fitness, it's something
it.
that you can truly express yourself from that I think gives you so much soul, it gives you so much grounding. And that for me was fitness, it was movement.
Right.
So that carried me out of that. And then I didn't stop the sports, although some coaches were saying you should. I got nicknamed the fat kid that didn't know he was fat when I got into high school because all these other kids that were like seniors were not used to seeing a fat kid run sprints like that or wrestle that
And
hard.
you were out running, like you were with this
Yes.
added weight,
Yeah.
just
That's why the kids that would
Going.
wrestle me, that underestimated me, would
They're
end
like,
up on their
"I don't know
backs
if I
looking at
wanna
the
wrestle."
lights, getting pinned. And I used it to my advantage. But,
right.
you know,
I love
I still deal with the eating disorders
Right.
and everything to this day. It's something that I don't know if you ever get rid of, but I have
Right.
much better tools.
You
of
create the
dealing it.
awareness with it, and
Yeah.
and there are certain things I think as you manage, and anyone that's dealt with eating disorders or any kind of disordered eating, you find that you know when you're aware of it, you find and know your triggers, and you know how to manage it.
Yeah.
And so if you really embrace and have your toolbox of these are my tools that I manage with, and these are the triggers that I recognize. And it's kind of like, to your point earlier, where you draw the line in the sand. You know, like I know when certain things are happening. Okay, this is the cycle, this is the pattern, and so you, before it even gets to that point, you just. But it is a thought process that you have to be actively engaged and aware of.
The three like hacks that I use to, I mean, there's a lot, but I can name a few. And that's one of the reasons a lot of my focus went away from just hardcore training, which I have a pre-med background, there's a lot of stuff, and the 20-minute body, that's the program that I have on DVDs and downloads and stuff. That program was really focused on short workouts, and I put a lot of time into that because I think there's a lot of value to that. But for me, emotionally and spiritually, as I grew older and just, I think, more wise, I wanted to really mesh personal development with this, because when you do a really good hard workout, or just, it doesn't have to be hard as in physically hard, but when you have a great workout, you leave with a heightened emotional state, a spiritual a higher vibration. And I wanted to mix that together, so that's why I started pursuing and created the next brand, Sweat with Soul. So for me, some of the hacks, you can sweat with soul in relationships, career, but I'm gonna talk about the importance for me of gravitating and finding workouts or instructors that have this very inspirational message. I call it Fitness Church. That's been one thing. So I have my favorite yoga place, spinning, Soul Cycle, and places where I just get fed this high vibration from them. That keeps that voice in my head active. Another one is for me to really push physically hard in a workout to what I call my fitting point. There's this point where when you cross it, I call it the fitting point, where you have like real clarity on things. For me, I have to go to complete exhaustion, where that voice, the chatter, is saying, quit, stop, you're not strong enough, this is unsafe, no one's looking, don't do the last rep. When I put that effort out and that chatter, and I say shatter the chatter, when I do that, there's like, and I'm lying on the ground, there's a clarity after that workout. There's voices that come that give just real in-depth, and it speaks to this spiritual side. And the last one is completely the opposite. It's like after a yoga class where I've gone and I'm sitting in Shavasana, and it's not necessarily I've given this huge physical effort, but I've had to go in and give an internal effort to get into these poses, and I hit this other sort of like these theta rhythms in my brain versus the hard alpha, and I'm on this other plane. So it's finding the instructors, it's the effort, and then it's the sort of really surrendering. Those three things with fitness really keep this emotional development going for me, and this awareness. If I just don't do that and I get stuck doing my routine, it's amazing how many things I just let happen or overlook or don't take accountability for.
And you just won't, it just goes by the wayside. And I love what you were saying with instructors too, because I think what I'm seeing as you're saying this is this reflection, because you have this divine like spirit inside of you that's just like this warrior spirit and this soul connected spirit, which is amazing to me, and you're combining it all with your movement, but then you're finding these other people that are also in that vibrational state. So like when you go to that spinning class, you love that instructor because maybe it's the music, maybe it's their personality, maybe it's all of it, but it's also reflecting back to you what you're able to do, what you're capable of, what's going to push you, right? And so I love when we find, and to that point, it's like when we go to certain classes and we don't resonate, because we've all been there, where you're just like dreading the class and you get there and you're like, okay, this isn't, it's like, watching paint dry, trying to get through a 60-minute class. If it doesn't work for you, find a new class, a new experience, a new trainer. Maybe spinning's not for you. Maybe it's something, there's other activities. And so that's what I always love to encourage people to do. If you want to be indoors, great. If you want to be outdoor, if you hate being indoors, go outdoors, but get moving.
Yeah, it was interesting. The Sweat with Soul originally was a show that I was shooting with my girlfriend, and we wanted to go out and find the instructors, the studios, and the workouts that had soul, not just sweat. And that was fun. We went around to these different places.
Sounds fun. Yeah,
the instructor interviews were amazing, and it's like, why there's also a selfishness of we want to be around these people because it inspires us, and there, you know, there is this higher self. I
Right.
believe that we want to get to through intentional, conscious living.
Right.
And those people help present that in a clear way of
Right.
like, yes, that's what I want to keep working toward.
And it's true. It's like, once again, the higher self is there and you're seeing it in others,
Yes.
but yet it's reflecting back
Totally.
to you because you have this higher self, if you want to call it the higher
Yeah.
self, or some people call it whatever they're comfortable
Yes.
calling it. But you see that, and so it keeps you on your path. It keeps you due north. It keeps you going on your journey, which is so beautiful. And I think it's just keeping those steps going forward. And I know we've had similar paths in the sense of along that way, you will, when we work out at the levels that we do, you know, you get injuries, you get setbacks or
Yes.
whatever, but it's not letting those knock us down, right?
Correct.
We push through. What are your keys to success with that?
Well, I can tell you I'm still recovering from an injury that I actually had surgery for, and I had complications for the night that I had the surgery. I had a lot of bleeding, a hematoma. Had to get rushed to the emergency room, and it's led to, you know, basically a lot of pain that I've just been dealing with over the last year and a half. So it has taught me a lot of patience,
Right.
and it's trained me on I actually am not pressing as hard as I would have in past times. I just can't do it, and it's been, you know, first frustrating and humbling, but now I'm like, there's a lot of other ways to take my training versus hard.
Right.
So change my yoga to always doing like the 2, 3, or 3+ vinyasa classes
Right.
to other things. And it's interesting, there's always a way to turn lemonade out of lemon, so to speak, you know,
Right.
where I mean, I do miss some of the workouts that
Sure.
even my
I know.
capoeira I've had to change.
I know that feeling where you just want to hit it hard and go and like push to exhaustion, and you're just like, I physically, like, if you've had a setback, you're not able to.
But here's the thing, there's always another door will open up.
Yes.
So in my yoga, I am taking classes where it's much more internal. And it's
Sure.
much more my breathing. And I'm like, wow, I don't think I would have ever gone this direction.
Right.
That I have. With my capoeira, I can't do the training. Now I'm doing the instruments
Right.
and the singing, which I wouldn't have
love
put the
that.
time
That's
into.
great, yeah.
So there's always,
It opens a door, and it's opening a door to your soul, which brings me to Sweat with Soul. And this is the area of the show that I like to say, change your frequency, change your life.
Yes,
So I like to
I like that.
empower our viewers to have practical tools that they can use. So tell me in their own workout. So tell me with Sweat with Soul, how you came about this company, and then tell me also more about any tools
Sure.
along those lines that you could give our viewers that they can incorporate today
So
with their lives.
Yes. So if you know, I get asked, what's the #1 tip for fitness? It's not an exercise. It's not a diet regimen. The dumbbell diet don't get you in shape. It's your accountability to your word that does,
Right.
period. So when I say Sweat with Soul, it's find something in your fitness that you have love for,
Yes.
that puts a smile on your face.
And love is such a high frequency. It's a high vibrational frequency that when you're there, your soul is expansive.
And it's,
So I love that.
You may be grimacing in this workout,
Right.
but at the end of the day, you're coming back because it feeds into something more than just I'm getting into my skinny jeans or I want the six pack. It's great. We all want to be better
Yeah,
naked.
the ego side, yes,
Yeah, I mean,
it's there.
it's there.
But we manage it, and it goes to a deeper,
But find,
authentic
instead
state.
of like going with the trendy workout and the this, or my friend always,
Right.
find something in your fitness that you have love for,
Yeah, I love
period.
that,
And
yes.
when you find that, there's the longevity. You can do all the other stuff, but like that is going to keep you grounded. For me, it's just out of all the things that I do, capoeira, the Afro-Brazilian martial art,
Right.
it keeps me grounded. So even if I show up at class and I can't train, I'm doing the tamborine,
What
the
is that, like the
pandero,
drums that
the
they have
pandero
there?
and the drums. It's something
I love it. And
that
drumming's so primal too. It like
It
just taps
is.
into your soul.
you have
Yeah.
to surrender to the beat and
Yes.
just, all of that. So for me, that is something that I have real love for. So it may sound strange for people and they're like, well, how do I do that? You're gonna know.
Yes.
You are going to know when you find something in your fitness that you have real love for. For a lot of people, it's like, it's their run. They get into that zone, or
Right.
it's their day. It could be salsa. It can be whatever. It doesn't have to be in a gym.
Right.
It doesn't have to be in the crazy fitness outfit. Something that gets you moving that you have love for. That's going to be one of the most important things that you can do in your routine. And it also is important because you create accountability.
Yes.
Where do you have real accountability in your workout? Excuses do not get you results. So where is something that you can create accountability for and own it?
And it's amazing how much those excuses start popping up. And a big one, it's interesting that people don't often realize, is tired. Like tired, suddenly they're tired and they give in to being tired, and then they end up not working out. So that's another one. It's listening to the self-chatter and really truly knowing, is this trying to sabotage me, or is this truly listening to my body and I do need to rest today? There is a difference, but you've got to be present to know that difference of where, and listen and be in tune with your body, right? To
100%.
know that difference.
And I would say in every workout, find one moment to shatter the chatter. So
Yes,
whether
I
that
love that.
means you're all of a sudden giving a huge effort, the heart rate is coming up, or maybe it's the moment where you're calming down and instead of looking at your phone or thinking of all these other things, you actually have to focus and relax, go to the other extreme,
Right.
or something else. But it's where there's this, I don't want to do that, and you have to focus and find like this calmness in the distraction.
Right.
Shatter the chatter one time during a workout. I guarantee you're going to find a time to do it.
Shatter the chatter. I love it. And consistency, right? Just being consistent is key. Brett, thank you so much for being here today. I so appreciate it. And I'm so excited for you in this new exciting venture with Sweat with Soul. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, viewers, for watching today. We look forward to having more inspirational hosts, so continue to join us here at Focus TV on The Lisa Torres Show. Thank you, Brett.
All right, stay there for a second. Stay wired. We're gonna do something with you. You can come out.
Okay.
We're
No,
gonna
our photo.
do, we're doing photo. But stay wired. We're gonna do your life in 50 seconds.
Cool.
Oh, yeah,
My
your
Life
story.
series. Now featuring your. Stop rolling and roll again. Yep. And then we're gonna take her mic off. He's. And I'm gonna airdrop you the photos too. Here we go. All right, get away with the hat. Get low here.
Sweat with Soul.
All right, stand by. Yeah, that's good. Beautiful. All right, come on out.
All right.
You're gonna stay there. So we do your life in 50. So it starts like.
Do you want to unmic me or we good? Okay.
We just did. This is the guy that has the. This guy here. He's the guy that came in the runner-up bachelor guy.
Buenos dias, Los Angeles. My name is Dr. Brian Arcillo. I am a doctor of chiropractic.
I think he wanted me to do
So that's how it starts.
the
Born and raised
my
in
1
Miami.
minute on like what the show's about,
I decided to
like who I am, that kind of thing. Okay.
health field and become a doctor of chiropractic. At 37 years old, I had the opportunity to be casted onto the show The Bachelorette on ABC, where I eventually met the love of my life and my current fiance, Rachel Lindsay. And together we have decided to use our platform to spread love and health and motivation to the masses, to make your body feel good, look good.
So it's a little bit of history, and then
Cool.
the last 10 seconds is going to be about sweating.
So cool.
Sullivan. Crimes allowed. Here we go. All right, let's get the single camera up. This off.
Brent, are you 1L or 2L? 1L, right?
1L.
1L.
You did this here, so it's candy reduction by the way.
Oh, I muted
muted
it,
it. Oh,
muted
good for you.
it, because I figured she's still gonna go.
Oh, you can stay wired because
Am
we're
I
the
gonna
intro?
do
Yeah,
the
yeah,
intro?
good for you.
Give me 1 second.
All right. So she's muted. What number are you on?
I muted it up.
You can just take over this. Talk a little bit, Brett.
Hi, my name is Brett Hobel.
It's just on a single channel here.
So I'm recording on the box, on the boom,
Guest.
and
Just a single
on the
shot.
box.
You don't have to switch.
Okay.
No switching. Stand by. All right.
straight.
And stay to the camera at the very
Ooh,
end.
Brett, you look good.
Stay at the camera at the very end. Hold on, don't walk by there because you're going to walk into the mirror there. Here, yep. The mirror catches the corner there. All right, so you're going to say your name, what you do, and this is my life. And you say, I grew up here and everything else, and then somehow I got to LA, I did the Biggest Loser thing, I did this, and now I want to make sure everybody feels great with Sweat and Soul and everything. And this is my life. Go for it.
Hi, I'm Brett Hobel. I am the co-founder of Sweat with Soul and the creator and author of The 20-Minute Body, as well as one of the trainers on NBC's Biggest Loser Season 11. And this is my life. I grew up in Princeton, New Jersey. I was adopted at a very young age. And I grew up with a lot of difficulties being teased as an adopted kid, and also my allergic to wheat and sugar. So I was not allowed a lot of foods and had a difficult time growing up. But fitness was my freedom, and it helped me lose over 50 pounds and transform my life, which eventually became my career. So I'm in the fitness industry now. I've been in the fitness industry over 20 years, and I've combined my fitness expertise with my love of personal development.